Hello, my name is Kania, and in this video I'd like to share about the unsolved murder case back in 18th century. It's about Jack the Ripper. Okay, I bet some of you have heard or have known the story of Jack the Ripper, because for me, I think it's quite popular amongst people who have interest in story of serial killers. And yeah, basically Jack the Ripper is the story that remains unsolved or remains mystery until today. And yeah, several people still searching and seeking for the clue about who is the killer. And without further ado, let's get to the topic. So, Jack the Ripper is a pseudonymous murderer that existed near the Whitechapel district of London's East End between August to November 1888. This case remains unsolved until today and is well known as the odd mystery of English crime. Basically, dozens of murders between 1888 and 1892 were speculatively attributed to Jack the Ripper, but only 5 of those which committed in 1888 were considered as the victims of the Ripper by the police. These victims were all prostitute women and called the Canonical Five. And before we talk further about the case, I'd like you to know the social condition during that time. Okay, so Jack the Ripper basically occurred around late 18th century, which is considered as the Victorian period. And at the time, England was considered as a time of contrast, especially between prosperity and poverty. And yeah, the severe poverty can be clearly seen in the Whitechapel area, because one of the main characteristics of Whitechapel at the time was the widespread of prostitution, which was driven by the economic depression. And yeah, during Victorian period, society had very striking rules about women's roles, especially in the sphere of earning, and this made them turn to prostitution as the way to survive. And yeah, since there's no other things they're able to do, so they make them to be a prostitute. It all started on August 31st, 1888, when the body of that woman named Mary Ann Nichols was found in the gateway of Bucks Row in Whitechapel district. Her throat was cut and her abdomen had severely mutilated, causing her bowels to protrude through the wounds. Charles Cross and Robert Paul found her body, and it was stated that she had been dead for only 30 minutes. 8 days later, on September the 8th, another dead body of Annie Chapman was found lying on the courtyard of a Whitechapel tenement. Same as the previous death, her throat was sliced from ear to ear, and the murderer removed her uterus and part of her bladder. Dr. George, who was serving as the police surgeon at the time, propounded the idea that the killer had anatomical knowledge by the way Chapman's womb was removed. 3 weeks after the announcement of Ripper's second victim, a mysterious letter arrived at London Central News Agency, and it appears to be sent by the murderer himself. And through that letter, the murderer gave himself a name so-called Jack the Ripper. 2 days after the letter was received, on September the 29th, the Ripper again committed murder of 2 women in one night. The body of Elizabeth Stride was found on Berners Street by a man named Louis Dimschutz, with only her throat cut hastily. And then shockingly, only 45 minutes after discovery of Stride, another dead body was found in Metro Square, not too far from Stride's spot. A woman named Catherine Eddowes became the second victim in the same night, with her throat being cut and face severely injured. Her uterus was removed along with her left kidney. Around a month later, on November the 9th, the fifth victim, Mary Kelly, was found at 13 Miller's Court in her bed by her landlord's assistant. This murder was the most gruesome because her body was virtually skinned down. Despite the extensive investigations by police and public interest, there's no conclusion that solves or sign that shows suspects to arrest. As the Metropolitan Police faced challenges during this time, Sir Charles Warren, the commissioner, resigned on November 8, 1888, amidst intense public and media criticism regarding the police's inability to arrest the killer. With the case left unsolved and the Ripper seemed mysteriously vanished after the last murder. So there were some characteristics or physical appearances that was alleged as Jack the Ripper by some people. So Jack the Ripper was described as a man between 25 to 35 years old, roughly 5 feet 5 to 5 feet 7/8, stocky, has fair skin and mustache, and seen wearing a dark overcoat and hat. As the case remains unsolved, there are so many theories surrounding this case, seeking for the true identity of the Jack the Ripper. And yeah, many people are still talking or even inventing new theories until today. And since there are so many theories that I found on the internet, I will provide you 3 of them. And yeah, let's get started. The first theory is the magical murder. There was an American man named Francis Tumblety who was in London during the time when Jack the Ripper occurred. He's known as a violent misogynist with an unstable personality who married a prostitute woman who still continued to prostitute even after they married. And he later was also celebrated as the woman hater. This is why his name was connected to the Ripper's murders, because we know that it was assumed that the killer has knowledge about anatomy, and Tumblety was known once to have performed an abortion in the States, and he has odd collections of uterus. Also, at the time when Tumblety left and returned to the New York City, the murders seemed to stop. The next theory is the local man. So Whitechapel was remarkable as an area that was submerged in poverty, and the profession as prostitute was driven by those destitution. So there's a theory that stated that the killer was the local man since he seemed to have knowledge of the labyrinth streets of Whitechapel. And the suspect is Joseph Barnett, who was the erstwhile boyfriend of Mary Jane Kelly. He was alleged to be unhappy with the idea of Kelly being a prostitute, and he killed other prostitutes as a warning for Kelly, but she failed to take the hint and got murdered too at the end. The third theory is called the Royal Ripper. According to the theory, Jack the Ripper was actually a member of the powerful secret society group named Freemason. And if you have no idea what is Freemason, maybe you can search it on the internet after watching this video. But basically, the members of Freemason could consist of prominent individuals such as royal family, the government, aristocracy, and yeah, they can also come from the police community. It is alleged that these murders were actually committed as the way to choose the prostitutes who were blackmailing a member of royalty in order to protect the reputation of the royalty. The theory says that Prince Albert Edward Victor, Queen Victoria's grandson, who was the heir to the throne of England, frequently visited the brothel, and he had a child with a girl named Annie Elizabeth Crook, and she told a particular group about it. So the murderer once sent a clue in the form of graffiti to the police, saying that he was actually a Mason, and since the police was also the Masons, they ended up to wipe off the clues and ended the case to take away any suspicions from the Masons. Those are the theories I can provide to you. Tell me which theories you believe the most, or maybe you have another theories based on your research. Let me know in the comment section. Thanks for your attention from watching my video. Goodbye!